And we can go ahead. Now, I received 4 specific things you wanted to cover today. How we can put in automatic process time for a coloring.
Yes.
Also, where the staff can see what kind of request booking is. Also, appointment notes and pop-up notes. And
Yes.
security setting like clocking in and who can enter reports. So those are the things we'll go ahead and get started with. So the first is how we can put in an automatic processing time for a color booking. So let's go ahead and do it. From setup, I'm going to go to my services section, salon or spa services, and that brings up my services window. Now, I've already got some already set up, but I want to create something new. I'm going to go into my hair group, and in my hair group, I've got things like colors, etc., but I'm going to create a brand new one. So right here under my service name, I'm going to call this my color test. So I just type in the service name and hit enter on my keyboard. And now the name of my new service is going to appear here. I give it a price and come to my times. Now under times, what we want here is 2 separate times that the provider is with the customer with a processing time in the middle. So I'm going to choose double. So a single means that the provider is with the customer the entire block of time. But a double means that the provider is with the customer for 2 blocks of time with a gap in between. And a triple means that the provider is with the customer for 3 blocks of time with 2 gaps. So we're going to stick with double here, and we're going to put in our total time. So I'm going to say, for instance, that maybe this service is an hour and a half. So I'll put in an hour and a half as my total time. So that's the complete amount of time that the service takes. Then I'm going to put in my application time. This is the first amount of time that the provider is with the customer. So this is normally when they are putting the chemicals into the hair and the color into the hair and things like that. So I'm going to say maybe that's 30 minutes. Then my processing time. How long is the client going to be sitting there processing while the provider can actually go and do something else and then come back to finish the job? So this is my processing time, and I'm going to say that's a half hour. So what I've done here is I've said the total amount of time is an hour and a half, and then I have allocated 30 minutes to the application, and then I've allocated 30 minutes to the processing. That leaves 30 minutes to finish. So if I save that, this service now is going to have 2 blocks of time for the provider with a processing time in between. So let's take a look at what it looks like on the appointment book now. So let's pull up a customer. It doesn't matter who they are. We'll go with Chris here, and I will choose hair, and I'll go to my services. Now the service I want is color test. There it is. And I'm going to book that with Kathy at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to left click to block out the time, and then I'm going to right click to choose what type of customer they are. And there it is. So I've got my time here that I have my application. Then I have my processing time that I could book another appointment in. And then I have my finish time. And by the way, the finish time can have the word finish in it so that you know that it's attached to this if you need to. Most people don't need it, but you can. It is a preference under appointments so that it will show finish time here. The word it'll simply say finish in the appointment. But that's up to you if you want that. But that's how you put a processing time into a service. You get it?
Yes, makes sense. But can you, instead of finish time, that it's automatically going to be a cutting service, or you have to book that in then separately?
Well, that's a separate service. So if you wanted to do something like a cut and color, of course, then you could have something here that might say cut and color as the name of the service, but it would still, the appointment itself would look just like it does now. Now, if you wanted a separate service here, for instance, a cut, I could choose something like a, let's see, I do have a men's cut or women's cut here. Let's go with the women's cut. And I'm just going to book this here with Chris. And again, no type. This client has an appointment. And there it is. So it'll ask me, do you still want to book this? Yes. So now I've got Chris getting his color test. Then we've got the processing time. And then I booked another appointment here for the haircut.
Yeah.
You can do that as well. But again, let me go ahead and remove this one. Again, if the name of the service here was cut and color, then that would take up this entire amount of time, but it would still look the same way. Instead of saying color testo, it would say cut and color, or color and cut, whatever it is you want there.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next thing that we wanted to talk about was where the staff can see what kind of a request a booking is.
Yes.
Okay, so most of the time, those are visible right on the appointment book itself. And then you can also run a report. But let's go ahead and pull up, for instance, Donna here, and I'm going to just do the same thing. We'll go with we'll do the color test again. There we go. And I'm going to book that with Leslie at 10 o'clock. Now, this time I'm going to say it's a request. Notice when I chose no type for Chris Habib, there is no purple strip here. But when I chose a request, meaning that Donna asked for Leslie, then I get this purple strip. This tells me that this is a request. They're different. Let's go ahead and book one more. Choose Angela here, and I'm going to book that with Matthew at 12 o'clock. And this time I'm going to choose new request. And now I've got my purple strip with a red dot. This tells me this is a new request. We'll do one more. This will be the last one we do because you get the point. We'll do Christine here. We'll go to Abigail. And this time I'm going to say that this one is, we'll say bumpable. And that's a green strip. So these are symbols on the side of the appointments that are letting you know this is a request, this is a new request, this is bumpable, this is a no type, etc. So that's one way to be able to see it. These are just visuals, and of course people will have to get used to that.
I was looking for colors.
But Matt, one question: Are we also able to add client types or
yes,
request types, and maybe change the colors?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Now, as far as changing the colors goes, I'm going to go to settings here, and I'm going to go to my screen colors. And so, for instance, here I have my request indication. That's that purple there, that purple strip. That's my request invitation. And then I've got things like my new client dot. So that's the red dot on the request button. So that's my new request. So I can change colors here. Here's my bumpable. There's my dark green there. And I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change that to this light blue. And now bumpable is light blue instead of green. So yes, you can change the colors. You can also change the client types. So when you go to that list that says, you know, like request, new request, no type, etc., they can actually say something different. Exactly how to change that, there is a, I believe it's in configuration. I'm not sure. This is not something that I normally do. It might be something that you need to ask a technician how to do. But yes, the answer is yes, you can do it. Unfortunately, that's not something that I'm familiar with, but I know that it can be done.
Problem.
Okay,
No problem.
because what we'd like to know is if it's possible to add a client type like pre-booking. So,
yes.
So which means that,
well, actually, pre-booking is already part of the software. That's already something that's available to you.
But we make also in a color-wise. You know, we have, for example, pre-book request, pre-book non-request, and then it's orange or green and stuff like that.
We have things called client attributes. So, for instance, I've got some client attributes here like VIP, habitually late, difficult, sample, web. I could create a client attribute like pre-book here, and let's go ahead and save that. So now I've got my client attributes, and in the client file, I can either set an attribute right on the appointment, set attribute, and say that this is a pre-book, and so now it'll have that P in front of it, or a V if it was a VIP or something like that. So this means that this is a pre-book. Also, in the client file, I could go in here to the actual client information, and I can assign a permanent attribute. So I could say something like VIP, so that's already there. So then if I book this person, it will mark them as a VIP. So you'll have that as well. So then it'll say something like VP, so it's a VIP and it's a pre-book. If I were to rebook this, that's exactly what would happen. If I put in the P for the pre-book, it would already have the V there. So you certainly have that available to you. When you book an appointment for somebody who has a transaction on the same day, so for instance, when I process somebody out, like Chris here, and I go to payment, and let's just do cash here, and it's going to ask me if they would like to book their next appointment. If I say yes, their name is already here. I could go to another day, and I can book a new appointment for them, whatever it is. Let's just go with a blow dry, and I'll book that with Debbie. Okay, so, and that's fine. That's for today. But do you want to book this anyway? Yes. So this has been booked. Now, the software recognizes this as a pre-booking because the customer had a transaction today and you booked that appointment today. Not for today, but you booked it today. And because you did that, the software recognizes that as a pre-booking, and there are pre-booking reports.
Yes.
So if you book an appointment for a person who does a transaction on the same day that you booked the appointment will be considered a pre-book if it's for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. And did I see it properly that it showed up light blue if you book that appointment? Oh, but that's just because of the request.
No. Yeah, that's when you choose the client type. That would be whatever the color is that you've selected for that client type.
Okay. Yeah.
So the pre-booking is not going to change the color. That's just going to have the mark.
Yeah, but like I said, you said the technician can help us add a client type as well, just to make more client types. Could you send us his contact?
Yeah, you know what? I could do that. I could instead of you guys having to go to a technician, I could have the technicians give me a description of exactly how that's done, and I could email that to you.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Let me just write that down so I don't forget.
Ja.
En ik moet even vragen of die skill, die moet ook op 45 minuten komen. Dat is geen optie. Nee? Nee, 5, 15, 30, 60.
Okay, all right. So then the next thing that you guys wanted to see was appointment notes. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, maybe, I'm not sure if you know that, but maybe otherwise you can also add that to the list for the technician guy, because I would love to see if it's possible in the skills list, how you can set the agenda, that there's also 45 minutes in it, because it goes from 15 to 30 to 60. And we work in our hair salon with 45-minute blocks. So
okay.
Do you think that that's a possibility, that could be that?
Yeah, it certainly is. I can show you that actually.
Oh, okay.
If I go to setup, configuration, appointments, then I can set my default screen parameters. Right now, my default screen parameters are set for 15-minute view scales. I can set them for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, or 60. So if you said you had 45-minute scales, is that what you said?
Also. So in the beauty salon we work with 5 minutes, for example, and in the hair salon mostly on 45 minutes. So it would be nice if we could put it on the scale as well from 45 minutes.
So what she's asking if it would be possible that the technician could add a default view scale of 45 minutes instead of 30 or 60.
Okay. I don't believe that that's the case. For 45, I would probably leave it at 15 so that you could go, 3 blocks. But these are the options: 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, and 60. If you needed 45, then that would be something that would have to be written into the software. That's not an option in the software right now. So for 45, I would leave it at 15 so that you can create a 45-minute block.
No problem. Okay. But I thought I can ask. I can always ask everything.
Of course. Okay, next is appointment notes and pop-up notes.
Yes.
So first, let's talk about appointment notes. So here's Donna's appointment for the color test. I'm going to right-click on the appointment, and then I can go to appointment info. So now I can add notes to this appointment. So here's all of the information on the appointment, and then here I can add a note. And it will date and time stamp it. So I'm going to say something like, this is a test appointment note, and I'm going to add that and close. It will mark it that there is a note on it. Notice when I bring my mouse over to the appointment, the note automatically appears. Also, if I print out Leslie's schedule, it will show her appointments and the notes on the appointments. If I print out her schedule, it will not only show the appointment, but it will also show the notes. So that's how you do appointment notes. Now let's do, for instance, a pop-up note. So I'm going to pull up a customer here. Let's go with somebody that I don't usually use so that I know they don't have one. Okay, so we'll go with Jana Ingalls. So here's Jana Ingalls, and I'm going to press the button that says Set Pop-Up.
Okay.
And now I can say who is writing the note. We'll say Ashley wrote the note, and the note says, Jana is allergic to, I don't know, glycerin. And set. So now I've set that note. So I can save my changes and close it. So let's go ahead and do something with Jana. For instance, maybe she would like to book an appointment. So I'm going to pull up Jana.
She's already there.
And yeah, I know. Yeah, when you pull her up, you'll notice Jana is allergic to glycerin. It's the very first thing you see until you clear it. I'm going to keep it. And so when booking an appointment for her, that would be the very first thing I see. Then I can book my appointment. Now let's go ahead and say that I was at the point of sale and I wanted to pull her up. And I pull her up. And again, the first thing I see is that Jana is allergic to glycerin. So setting a pop-up, you simply go into the client file, press the button, set pop-up, and that'll take care of it for you. You can even do it in the point of sale here. For instance, I pull on somebody here and I click on set pop-up. So now it's going to set it for that person who I already have in the ticket. So I'll say that Angie said blah, 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 and set, done. So now I can go to payment and whatever it is I do, accept that, done. But the next time I pull her up for any reason, whoever that was, and that, oh, now I even forget who the name was. Let me let me just see that again. Last transaction, Christina Hadford. Okay, so if I were to pull up Miss Hadford again, first note I see is blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Same thing goes with booking the appointment. Let's go back in there to book the appointment. Pull up Miss Hadford. Whoops. There we go. First thing I see is the pop-up. Okay, so that's how you set up a pop-up now. So appointment notes and pop-up notes, and they were both recorded here, so you'll be able to look at that again if you'd like.
Matthew, I have a question about the appointment notes, because I figured this out today, this afternoon, and I noticed that if you have multiple bookings for a client, and perhaps this is because we do the bookings wrong, but we have a lot of bookings for, say, for one person, she now has a few blocks of appointments. So say she has a few waxing appointments like legs, arms, and face. If you put a note in one, you have to go to the appointment information, but then it just puts the note, and then it shows the note only in one of the blocks.
That's absolutely right. And
yeah, is there a way to either book it together or to make it show on everything?
Okay, the only way to have it show on everything, like I said, would be to have like a spit it out, Matt, like a pop-up note or even a client note so that the note is in the client file. But the truth of the matter is that the appointment notes are specific to that appointment.
Yeah.
And that's why it's done that way, so that each of them, because you might have a message for Leslie, and Donna might also be seeing Lizette, but the message for Leslie does not apply to Lizette. It might be a separate note entirely, or maybe no note at all. But no, the appointment notes do not just automatically go through each appointment. So you could have client notes, you know, where you have something like in the client information, they have their, let's go to notes here, but that's not going to automatically show on the appointment. Also, you can have a note in the client file right here. Instead of showing pictures, you can use this as a note file. So we can say this is a place to put notes and save that. By doing that, then you don't have to go look for the notes. If you just go into the client file, then it would be, well, I have to have it set so that it stays there. Your preference, there's a preference setting so that it's always on that. You can toggle back to your pictures. But right now I've got my preference set so that it's always on pictures and you have to toggle to notes. But if you have it set to always be on notes, then that note would be right there for you to see whenever you go into the client file. But again, appointment notes themselves are specific to that single appointment. So no, you're not going to have it just automatically attach itself. Now, can you create a client type or an attribute, like for instance, something like an allergy, or even something that might say see notes? Yeah, absolutely. So I could go to my, creating my client attributes. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's right. And that's going to be in, here we go, under general, client attributes. So I might have something here like, let's put a C in here. And then here I'm going to say that that C stands for C notes, and save. So then if I think that it's important enough, in any client file, so we'll go with Sandra Garcia here, and under the attributes, I could click on C notes. Then I could type in notes in their note field, or I could put notes here, but that would then attach itself to every appointment that's booked for Miss Garcia Robles. So let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, or you can do that for just one single appointment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can always remove it, of course. But for instance, if I were to book multiple services for her, in fact, let's just do it. Let's go with a Chrissy's package here. I'll just stop it right now and just grab one. Okay. And book. Garcia Robles. Whoops. There she is. Choose my room. Okay, so those appointments are booked, and that was for, I believe that was for today. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. There are the appointments, and you'll notice each one of her appointments has the C in front of it for C notes. Now, you don't have to have that, but you certainly can. And when checking somebody out even, then, for instance, if I were to pull up Miss Garcia Robles, it's right there as well, letting me know that I can, to let me know C notes. And this one here, this is a pre-book. And if this was a VIP, the V would be there, etc. The client will never see those. They don't print out anywhere. They're just for you to see. And the reason that we have that so that the client never sees it is because some of your notes might not be very complimentary. It might say something like the one that I have here. Let's go to set attribute. This one here that says habitually late or difficult. You certainly wouldn't want the client to see that, even though it might be something that you want the staff member to see.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The next thing that we have here is security setting, like clocking in and who can enter reports. Okay, so that is passwords. So in order to do that, so for setting, like clocking in and who can enter reports, etc., you go to Setup, Configuration, General, Passwords. So again, that's Setup, Configuration, General, Passwords. Now, I've already created a master password, but if you've never created one, then it's going to say enter a master password, and it will then allow you to do it, and it will also say enter it again so that it knows that you've done it right. So I'm going to put in my password. All right, so now my password is in here. And now, for instance, I can go to, I'm going to put in my master. So it says master here on the left, so I know that I'm in my master password. And now I could say, for instance, I want to go to general, and anything I check is going to be password protected. So I've already said that reports, utilities, and setup, for instance, are going to require a password if I have my passwords turned on. So I can also, when I go into reports, go to specific reports and say, if they get in, they still need another password to get into these things. So I could do that as well. And for instance, in utilities, I could say something like, I want to, well, wait a minute, not in utilities. It would be in I think other. Yeah, under other, I could say that a password is required for time clock and things like that. Now, once I've done that, then I can turn on my passwords. Of course, I need to assign passwords to my staff members as well. So the passwords class, by the way, takes about a half hour all by itself. And unfortunately, we really don't have time for that today. We got started a little bit late, and I have another class starting in 17 minutes. But I just want to show you, I'm going to turn it on, set up preferences, general, and here's my password protection. And I'm going to activate it. To activate it, I need to know what the master password is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to type in my master password, and now my passwords are activated. So watch what happens if I try to get into reports. Now I can't get in without a username and password. Before I was able to just get into reports, but now I need a username and password. So for instance, I'm going to say, oh, I don't even remember one that I set up, gosh darn it. But I think I can use the master here. There we go. Yeah, so I'm able to use my master. But you would assign different ones. You would never give the master to just regular staff. Only the owner and perhaps the manager would know what the master is. But then once a person is able to get in, they can do everything except for certain reports like the operator reports. Now that requires a username and password as well. And if you don't have it, if you don't know what it is, then it's going to say that your password does not allow you to perform this action. But that doesn't mean that I can't do other things. I can do all sorts of things. But the one that I wanted, which was operator reports, I can't get into without a password.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead and let me go ahead and turn that off again so that it's not getting in my way. Hang on.
And could you just, I forgot to put it on my list, but show me how I can add a single service to a single staff member instead of to the whole group.
A single service to a single staff member.
Yeah, so for example, a beautician, and because not all our beauticians do the same treatments, so they do general stuff, but there are also specializations in it.
Sure.
So I had no clue how to set that up.
Okay, so there's one specific way to do it. You could, of course, just create a group with one service in it and only assign one person to that group. That's one way to do it.
Yeah, but
and that's probably not the best way to do that. What I can also do, though, is this. Let's say that I go into my laser group. So here are my laser services, okay? And these are the people that work in my laser group: Abigail, Anna, Kathy, and Christian. And they can do all of these services. So here I go to laser arm, and those are the people that can provide those services. But watch what happens. I'm going to go to laser intimate, and I'm going to say, Christian cannot do this service. So I check this box. Operator does not do this service. So now what I've said then, by saving that, if I tried to book an arm or an armpit or a back or a chest or a face or a leg with Christian, I could. But if I tried to book an intimate with him, I couldn't. So what you can do is you can restrict people from doing things so that you can get it all the way down to one person. So in this group, for instance, I could say that I want, let's go with Anna here. Anna can do an intimate, but if I went to the others, like Abigail, and said she can't, and save, and Anna, she can't, and save, and we already said that Christian can't, but I'm going to leave it with with Kathy. Kathy can. The others can't. So let's go into our book. Let's choose a customer. We'll go with Naz here. Choose a group like laser. And so there's Abigail, Anna, Kathy, and Christian. And if I choose a laser back, I can book with any of them. But if I choose a laser intimate, Abigail, Anna, and Christian just grayed out, leaving only Kathy. I can only book this with Kathy. And if I wasn't paying attention and I tried to book with somebody else, this operator does not perform this service. But if I tried to book it with Kathy, no problem. Okay?
Yes.
So notice Abigail, Anna, and Christian are gray, and Kathy is black. But if I change it to a different one, like a laser chest, now they're all black. I can book with all of them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that is those are the things you wanted to cover today. I know that we have another training scheduled for tomorrow at this same time. If you have specific questions, just email them to me, just like you did this time, and we'll go over those. Also, if there's anything that you need technicians to help you with between now and tomorrow, please do contact them either through the support or by giving them a call. And hopefully they can get those resolved for you prior to our training tomorrow. And I will email this to info or to Rick?
To info.
Or to both. I can do it to both, of course.
Both.
Okay. All right. I'll send it to both info and Rick, and I will talk to you guys again tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Or I guess tomorrow evening, your time.
Yes. And then tomorrow maybe we can go over the setup for the payment types. So,
absolutely.
Yeah?
I'll learn how to do that. Yes, that's a great idea.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you, Matt. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.